Welcome to the English Learning Podcast. Today, we'll be discussing a powerful technique that can significantly boost your language skills, thinking in English. If you want to take your English to the next level, this episode is for you. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I'm Mac, and today we're exploring how to think in English. This is a crucial step for anyone looking to become fluent. But why is it so important? Thinking in English helps you immerse yourself in the language, making it easier to speak and understand without translating in your head. Here are some practical tips to help you start thinking in English. Begin with the basics. Try to think of everyday objects and actions in English. For instance, when you wake up in the morning, name the things you see and do. Bed, blanket, brush my teeth, breakfast. This helps you associate English words directly with their meanings. Tip 2. Describe your day. Narrate your daily activities in English. As you go about your day, describe what you're doing in your mind. For example, I am walking to the bus stop, I am having lunch with my colleagues, or I am reading a book. This practice helps you get used to forming sentences in English. Use an English dictionary. When you encounter a new word, use an English dictionary instead of translating it into your native language. This helps you understand the word in English and reduces the habit of translation. Tip 4. Practice with thought prompts. Set aside a few minutes each day to think in English. You can use prompts like, "What are my plans for today?" or "How do I feel right now?" This will train your brain to formulate thoughts in English more naturally. Tip 5. Engage in internal dialogues. Have conversations with yourself in English. It might sound funny, but it works. Imagine you're talking to a friend or giving yourself advice. For instance, "What should I cook for dinner tonight?" Or "I need to remember to call mom." This helps you practice conversational English in a low-pressure setting. Tip 6. Immerse yourself in English media. Surround yourself with English through music, movies, podcasts, and books. Try to think about what you're consuming in English. For example, after watching a movie, summarize the plot in English or discuss it with a friend who also speaks English. Tip 7. Keep a journal. Write a daily journal in English. Describe your experiences, feelings, and thoughts. This not only improves your writing skills but also reinforces thinking in English. Tip 8. Practice mindfulness. When you find yourself thinking in your native language, gently remind yourself to switch to English. Be patient and consistent. Over time, this will become more natural. Tip 9. Set realistic goals. Set small, achievable goals for your English thinking practice. Start with a few minutes a day and gradually increase the time as you become more comfortable. So, why is thinking in English so important? Let's break it down. 1. Enhances fluency. Thinking in English helps you form thoughts directly in the language without the need to translate. This enhances your fluency, allowing you to speak more naturally and quickly. When you're in a conversation, there's no time to translate sentences in your head. By thinking in English, you respond faster and more accurately. 2. Improves comprehension. When you think in English, you're also training your brain to understand the language better. This improves your listening and reading comprehension. You start to grasp context and nuances without relying on translations, which often miss subtle meanings. 3. Reduces translation errors. Translation often leads to errors and awkward sentences because not all phrases or idioms have direct equivalents in another language. Thinking in English helps you use phrases and expressions that are natural to native speakers, reducing these errors. 4. Builds confidence. When you become comfortable thinking in English, your confidence grows. You're less likely to second-guess yourself and more likely to speak up in conversations, participate in discussions, and even give presentations in English. 5. Encourages immersive learning. Thinking in English immerses you in the language even when you're not actively studying. This continuous exposure reinforces learning and makes it easier to retain new vocabulary and grammatical structures. 6. Facilitates dreaming in English. Interestingly, many learners report that they start dreaming in English once they begin thinking in the language. This is a clear sign that your brain is becoming more comfortable with English, treating it as a natural form of communication rather than a foreign language. 7. Promotes cultural understanding. Language and culture are deeply intertwined. Thinking in English can help you understand cultural nuances and expressions better, making your communication more effective and empathetic. 8. Enhances problem-solving skills. Thinking in a second language has been shown to enhance problem-solving and creative thinking. It forces you to approach problems from different angles and consider alternative solutions, which is a valuable skill in any context. So, how can you start thinking in English? Here are a few tips. Label your environment. Start by labeling objects in your home with their English names. Use English dictionaries. Avoid translating words and instead use English definitions. Narrate your actions. Describe what you're doing in English as you go about your day. The essential steps to get you started on the path to mastering the English language. Let's dive in. Let's get started. 1. Set clear goals. First, it's important to set clear, achievable goals. Ask yourself why you want to learn English. Is it for travel, work, or personal interest? Setting specific goals, like I want to be able to hold a basic conversation in 3 months, will give you direction and motivation. 2. Learn the basics. Start with the basics of the language. Learn the alphabet, common phrases, and simple vocabulary. Resources like beginner textbooks, language learning apps, and online courses can be very helpful. Focus on common greetings, introductions, and everyday expressions. 3. Practice pronunciation. Good pronunciation is key to being understood. Listen to native speakers and try to mimic their pronunciation. There are many online resources, including YouTube videos and pronunciation guides, that can help you with this. 4. Build your vocabulary. Expand your vocabulary by learning a few new words every day. Use flashcards, vocabulary apps, or write words in a notebook. Group words into categories like food, travel, and daily activities to make them easier to remember. 5. Practice listening. Improve your listening skills by exposing yourself to English as much as possible. Watch English movies, listen to English songs, and try podcasts or audiobooks. Start with simple content and gradually move to more complex material as you improve. 6. Speak from day one. Don't be afraid to start speaking English right away, even if you make mistakes. Practice with language exchange partners, join English conversation clubs, or speak with friends who know English. The more you practice, the more confident you will become. 7. Use language learning apps. Apps like Duolingo, Babbel, and Rosetta Stone offer structured lessons that can help you learn the basics and build your skills over time. These apps are great for practicing on the go and keeping track of your progress. 8. Take an English course. If you prefer a more structured approach, consider enrolling in an English course. This could be an online course, a local class, or even private tutoring. A course can provide you with a curriculum, feedback, and a community of fellow learners. 9. Practice writing. Start writing in English to improve your language skills. Keep a journal, write short stories, or even post on social media in English. Writing helps reinforce what you've learned and improves your ability to communicate your thoughts. 10. Be consistent and patient. Learning a new language takes time and effort. Be consistent with your practice and patient with your progress. Celebrate small milestones and keep pushing yourself to improve. That's all for today's episode on how to start learning English. We hope these tips help you begin your language learning journey with confidence. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Share it with friends who are also starting to learn English. Thanks for tuning into the English Learning Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll share more tips and strategies for mastering English. Until then, happy learning!